What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we're going to be analyzing the Blachowicz versus Rakic card going down this weekend. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy. How we doing this week? And
Fu Fucking amazing. Just
I
just
don't know
shipped
why.
just shipped a massive bet on the Miami Heat. My God, I can't believe they let me do that. But yeah, we're going into this card. Pay-per-view week, kind of a shit show last week. Sat through the worst fight I've ever watched in Rose versus Carla, but I cashed a nice bet on Carla there, so no issues there. And yeah, got disappointed by my boy Justin Gaethje. He was not able to fulfill the prophecy. I gave back a lot of the Chucky money that I won on him versus Poirier. But I'm still a ride or die Gaethje fan, and I'm happy for Chucky Olives. I just hope that he can once and for all just shut down that Russian hype and kill Makachev. But either way, Makachev is not getting through two of Jesus' disciples in Dariush and Chucky back to back. Is not happening. So I'm
Chandler
I'm
is a
pretty
big
confident
Jesus
about
guy
that.
too.
Exactly. Like Islam, it's not meant to be for him. He's not getting through all those guys. So, Christianity will reign supreme. I'm not religious at all, but I don't really like the Russians. These guys are juicing, and hopefully, Islam is has to get his title in Eagle FC and not off of Chuck. So,
Yeah, I mean,
that's how I feel.
Oliveira is insane. I keep picking against this guy, but I mean, he keeps proving me wrong time and time again. It just, one of the most electric fighters in the sport right now. This dude is like Dana White loves this guy because he has the
You should.
most finishes in UFC history, and I feel like out of everybody in the UFC right now, like he's probably the most like guaranteed entertaining fight every time.
Yeah.
Like the type of guy who you want to like tell your friends to tune in and watch fights. So he's
Just
amazing. Um,
the fluidity of just his overall attack, like that end sequence when he has the tie clinch and like Gaethje like disengages and Chuck just walks right forward into that right hand and flows right into it and then ground and pound to the back. I mean, this guy's amazing. So, and I'm glad that he's still in his prime too. So we should still see at least what 5, 10 more fights of this guy in his prime. So looking forward to it for sure.
And last note about last week, 1.63 unit win for me. I bet on nine underdogs, four of them won. Esparza, Brown, Chiasson, and Newson. So small win there. How about you, Ozzy?
2.62 L unit L for me. I thought Shogun got hosed. Just my opinion. I know a lot of people scored that fight for OSP, but I thought Shogun won the first two rounds. And then I think my worst bet there was the only bad bet that I made. I feel is just the Danny Roberts one. Like I should have had more confidence in Randy Brown. Just maybe switch that and been more heavy on Brown. But lost on Schnell. That was I don't even want to talk about that one. My best bet of the week, Gatto. Like I can't believe she didn't win that fight. Like that was ridiculous. So a small L there. Had Gaethje in the main event, obviously. So me, I thought there were some pretty good reads overall. I just can't believe Schnell and Gatto like lost fights like that, especially Gatto. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't regret Schnell
I'd
got
bet
it.
Gatto
That's
again. I'd bet Gatto every day of the week. You give me plus 150, 147 on her against Cortez any day of the week. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel the same way about all the wins and losses. So enough said about that. 11 fights this week. This one, should be a shorter podcast. And Nick Maximov, how the mighty have fallen in the first fight on the card after coming off a co-main event win. That's how bad this guy is and how much the UFC doesn't like him. Is they saw him win in a co-main event and they said your next fight is the first fight on the card on some random fight night. So middleweight division, we got Philly's own Andre Petroski versus Nick Maximov. And the odds for this one, Maximov minus 350, Petroski plus 285. So you got an East Coast versus West Coast fight going on. Um, Petroski is training out of the Marquez MMA in Philadelphia, which just so happens to be 13-0 in the UFC. Petroski, Wells, Sabatini, Brady. And based on that alone, I mean, some people like a good narrative out there. This is a great narrative. His gym is 13-0 in the UFC. What is Nick Diaz's gym in the UFC? I guarantee you they have a losing record. I can tell you that. Between Melendez losing fights both the Diaz brothers. I mean, I'm telling that boy Sano. I'm telling you, they have a losing
They
record in the
suck. All right,
UFC.
get into
So,
the fight. They
um,
suck. Get into the fight.
right. So we got I mean it's just a grappler versus grappler matchup, honestly. I mean Maximov is harmless on the feet. I honestly think Petroski's the better striker of the two. And you know, Petroski had some cardio issues throughout his career, got tapped out by Battle on the contender or on the tough or whatever. Um but I think, since committing to MMA full time, getting in the UFC, winning fights, this dude is just getting more and more serious, improving in some of the areas he was weak. And I think that cardio issue is, on its way up. I mean, he has 2 round 3 finishes. So, I mean, that's, a good amount of proof right there that the cardio is getting better. But Maximov to me is just, a crotch sniffer. This dude loves the single leg, loves to just hold on. He didn't beat Puna Soriano. He lost that fight, lost rounds 1 and 2, but the judges don't know how to read the scoring criteria. Damage is number one, damage is key, and Puna did more damage in that round too. So he should have won that. So I mean, I was saying to Ozzy earlier, what is this line if Maximov doesn't get that split decision where most people thought he lost? Um, I think it's a whole lot different line than we're looking at right now. So, I mean, Petroski's winning fights. He's finishing people. His gym is doing great. I think that this isn't a bad matchup. It's a grappler versus grappler matchup, and I think I'm happy to have a bet on them. So 1 unit on the big dog plus 330. Got some CLV already. Got some strong thoughts on this one, and I'm cheering for my boy from Philly. So, what do you got here, Ozzy?
All right, so let me give more of a matchup based approach on this. So I mean, you know, the biggest knock on Petrovsky is his conditioning and his cardio. People have right in that Ultimate Fighter, the house he kind of slowed down against that Brian Battle. And then I guess in the one against the Chinese dude, he slowed down. I mean, but the thing is like I don't really think he slowed down in his 2 UFC fights all that much. Like maybe a little bit. Like had some sketchy moments a little bit, but at the end of the day, he still got his takedowns. He was still working once he got on top. And I kind of discount the stuff on the Ultimate Fighter because especially at Brian Battle fight was his second fight in like I don't know, they do those in like 2 weeks. So you're like cutting with the weight, et cetera, et cetera. And I think he's getting better. Petrovsky is he's like 29, I think, somewhere around there. Um and I think he's improving a little bit. So I don't know if the cardio is going to be that big of an issue, especially in a fight here where he's not going to be out of his element in terms of when they are because Maximov is only going to be looking to grapple him. So, I think he'll be able to be more efficient with his movement because he's not going to have to pursue the grappling and the takedowns is going to just be them kind of just going at it and scrambling with each other. On the feet at range, I would say that Petrovsky has the better hands than Maximov, and Maximov, like you said, a little bit of a crotch sniffer. Like if you can look to reverse his takedowns, he'll get stuck in that turtle position. He's more of a what we call a mat wrestler, right? So he a lot of the dominant positions that he does get is once like you guys are locked up and when the other guy gets lazy or maybe is not as accustomed to the to the limp arms and some of the more technical wrestling positions. And you saw in that Puna fight it kind of played out like that. They were locked up for a little bit and Puna was letting him stay engaged. So long story short, I do think Maximov could be trouble when he does get on top. He's good at leg riding. He's good at tight like squeezing the legs together and keeping them down. But I feel that Petrovsky has a submission game that could trouble him in like that front turtle position. And I'm gonna take the small dog shot on him. The line's going down right now, but you can still get some plus 310 out here. Just because Maximov's submission game is not that potent, and unless Petrovsky like absolutely gasses, it should be a close fight overall. And I'd like to lean on the background here and the fact that these guys are much more closely together than this line indicates. And I'd put it more like in the Brundage territory than where it is now. So give me Petrovsky for a small bet here at plus 300, 310, whatever it is.
And next fight is a fight we already talked about. Oz, you want to talk about this one again, or should I just edit in the clip of us talking about it last time?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I did look at it a little bit more also again since, and I'll just go real quick and say that I was kind of impressed when I did my refresh on Tyra. This guy he's pretty talented. He mixes together his striking and his grappling pretty well. I think he is pretty legit overall. The issue is if him and Candelario start grappling, I don't know about his bottom game, and I do know that Candelario can keep top position adequately, can drop ground and pound once he is there. But sometimes he does give up positions that are like big danger. Then he has to kind of like, shimmy out of there or like get out safely. And I'm not sure if, you want to get into bad positions with Taira because he is very aggressive and he just finds finishes. So I think this will be a good fight. I still lean towards taking the value on Candelario, but I do think that Tyra could definitely finish him here. Especially late, like he's got very good conditioning too and cardio. So Candelario did slow down in his contender fight, and I don't think he manages his gas tank all that well. So I think I might take a little stab on Tyra like round 2 or round 3. I don't know what that is. It's not great odds, but I would lean towards taking that plus money though. Even
Um,
now though.
so yeah, I mean, I still have the same thoughts as the first time. Haven't bet Candelario. I did the first time at like 205. I mean, I'm just waiting to see where the price goes at this point. Um, I guess it is a bit of a concern that the Candelario pulled out sick in that fight. Don't really know what happened there, but I mean, Tyra. I mean, the read remains the same. That this dude has 20 minutes of footage. 5 of those minutes are him just demolishing guys, and then his one fight where he went to the decision, we saw a little bit more of what he's made of, and I don't think it's anything that impressive. And the dude is still crazy young. I mean, 22 years old. I just don't think that this guy is in the spot where he deserves to be minus 250 in the UFC. And I think Candelario is still going to be the money line side here. His contender series fights, show me that he is UFC caliber. It showed me that we know a little bit more about him than Tyra. And at 2 to 1, I'm happy to take another stab at him just because we know a lot more about him. So I'll stick with Candelario as a bet. No idea who's going to win the fight. Hopefully, the value side comes through. I wouldn't be mad if Tyra, won the fight and stuck around. I mean, he seems cool, back takes are cool and everything. So, may the best man win there. Next fight, women's 115. We got my girl Angela Hill taking on Verna Jandiroba, but I have a different girl in this fight, and that is the favorite, Verna Jandiroba. She's now minus 185. Hills plus 160. I got in on Verna at minus 141. And I thought it was a clear spot, and obviously the market has agreed with me. Pushing minus 200 now. I really thought that's what it would be. I was pretty shocked to see it open in the range where it did, and I mean pretty clear cut fight. I mean Angela Hill against grapplers is just not a good formula. Jandiroba, her striking is getting better. I still think that she's not going to have much striking success. Obviously, if the fight is on the feet, it's favoring Hill. But Jandiroba's her grappling advantage is just so clear. I mean, I just think that that's how she's going to win the fight. I trust her to get takedowns. I don't think she's going to gas out. I mean, I could see Hill doing her typical thing where she loses round 1 and then comes back to make rounds 2 and 3 close. But even in one of those rounds, one takedown could end the round. One takedown could be 4 minutes of top control or a sub. So I'm going with the Brazilian Verna. I'm sorry, Angie. I still love you, but I got to bet against you in this spot.
Yeah, I also prefer the Verna side. I mean, overall, Angela Hill, this girl's 13 and 11 or whatever it is for a reason. Yeah, she's got pretty, clean striking overall, but I think if you take away the kicks, which I don't know how much she's going to want to kick here, I think Verna's going to be able to wrap her up. And, I don't really like the striking if it's just boxing only for Hill. I feel like Verna could swarm her a little bit. Like I said, her takedowns are pretty good. And, while Angela Hill has been staying safe in the grappling a bit, and she's definitely been working her grappling a lot as well, if she's on her back, she's just in really bad trouble against Verna. Verna's good as well. Like right after she takes you down, taking advantage of of the positioning and transitioning it into passes, and she has almost tons of wins by submission as well. So I think it has the potential of being close if Angela Hill is able to maybe only get taken down like outside of open space, right? Like maybe like towards the fence, maybe where she can avoid making some of the quick mistakes that allows Verna to pass her guard easily. But on the feet, like I said, I don't think she's gonna be blowing out Verna. Verna's pretty tough. She's got pretty good conditioning as well. And I do think that Angela Hill, she's probably gonna trust her grappling a little bit too much and not be too as concerned and throw out those kicks. And I think Verna, when she gets her down, she'll progress position, and she's pretty strong on top. Like you know, Angela Hill's like a noodle on bottom, and I think Verna's just gonna be able to smash her once she does get her on bottom. So I got to take some of that submission prop as well. It's like plus what, like 300 to 250 on Verna, or you could get a 350 at some places. So I'll sprinkle that as well.
Yeah, I agree on the sub prop. I'm gonna take some there. The one thing I'll say though, as a concern for Jandiroba, I do think she has lost every round three she's been in against Hebos, Dern, and Esparza. Obviously, different caliber of fighter than Hill, but she does not, have the greatest historical cardio. But also, Angie Hill, I gotta defend my girl a little. She has been robbed 4 times in the UFC in the past few years. Shannon Watterson. Gedalia and Lemos. So, justice for Angela Hill. Like you said, please forgive me if. All right, that's enough. That's enough about this. Anyway, next fight, legendary fight going on, lightweight division. Michael Johnson, Alan Patrick. Michael Johnson's the favorite. He's the favorite Aussie, minus
Of
145.
course.
Alan Patrick plus 125. So, what are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, I mean, so like what's gonna happen in this fight. Like Michael Johnson, what you're gonna get from Michael Johnson. This guy's gonna be throwing punches, avoiding the takedown. He's got good cardio, he's got some power. Like, I mean, there's nothing new coming from Michael Johnson in this fight, right? And Alan Patrick, he's looked like shit in his last 2 fights. Like Mason Jones beat the brakes out off of him. And the Bobby Green fight was kind of funny. But I will say, just in terms of like stylistic matchups, if the same Patrick shows up that fought Bobby Green, I think he's gonna win this fight because Michael Johnson's horrible on the ground, like hard, like he's just his brain does not work for grappling. So that's why he tries to avoid it like the plague. But as soon as you put him in any kind of submit, like this guy's tapping, and you saw Clay was able to outstrike him one, and then pretty easy, take him. I'm not gonna say easily took him down, but once he got him down, like he was, got to the back and all that stuff. And does Alan Patrick have the same level of takedowns as Clay? No, but he has much better jiu-jitsu, so he doesn't need as many takedowns at all. And he's kind of slick, once he does get on the ground. And just overall, like this guy is like, he's a weird fighter. He's like what Anderson, like, let me just preface this. Like, I'm not saying, but he's like got like that Anderson Silva, like, I don't know, like how he moves and like his like his physical features, like he doesn't swell up, like his face doesn't ever get damaged from shots. Like he's got that crazy skin. I don't know, something weird about him, but he's a high level athlete. He's a lefty as well, so I think that it might be a little harder for Johnson to land the left hand as opposed to like a lot of the recent guys that he's been fighting that have been orthodox. And he hasn't gotten a knockout in a while. Like, when was Michael Johnson's last knockout? It was I don't know, long time ago.
Dustin Poirier,
That
maybe?
if that was a long time ago. But what I'm saying is, like, he's been like more of an accumulation striker. Like even against Moises.
It is Poirier. It's literally
That's
6 years ago.
bro. That's a long time ago. Even against Moises, like Moises wasn't really getting hurt with punches. He was just being a beta, and Michael Johnson is throwing out a lot of punches. So Alan Patrick, I mean Mason Jones is beating the brakes off of him, but he never he didn't go out there, and he was taking some flush shots. And I don't think that Michael Johnson has the kind of wrestling that could defend if Patrick just starts going crazy, and trying to grapple him. So give me Alan Patrick here, plus 130. Like you can never bet Michael Johnson as a favorite, in my opinion. And submission prop 7-1 might be burning money, but I gotta play that against Michael Johnson. Like that's a given. Like freaking Thiago Moises ankle locked this guy. Like who gets ankle locked? Like that's crazy. In an MMA fight, yeah, let's go. Patrick's been hanging out with Oliveira as well. The Brazilians are coming this week, so I'll take Patrick here, money line and by submission.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Not too much to add. I mean, both these guys are terrible. But one is a favorite, one's an underdog. I agree with everything Ozzy said. Patrick was, really hard to go out in that Jones fight. Jones even had him on the ground, landing big shots on the ground from Mount, and he still wasn't really giving up. So I just feel like Johnson won't have that finishing opportunity. And are you really going to trust him to sprawl and brawl and to stuff takedowns for 2 out of 3 rounds? I mean, that's a terrible formula that is definitely lost bets time and time again on Michael Johnson. So, Patrick is the only thing you can do here, Patrick or pass. So, I'm in agreement with
Just
Ozzy.
just
I haven't
like
bet him yet.
just just like in the Gaethje fight, if Patrick gets knocked down, Michael Johnson cannot follow him to the ground. He cannot. Like Patrick almost triangle Bobby Green. I don't know if people want to watch that, but he threw up a pretty slick. This guy's kind of slick. Like he's not that bad. Like he's getting a bad rap, and this is a buy low spot. I think. Like Michael Johnson, no good. Can't do it.
He's just really old. I mean, he's definitely past the prime. I mean, it's interesting,
Yeah, but
but I think he's still.
he's
I
built
think he's
different.
He's training with Oliveira, like you said, like he's got that rub. I mean, that's a big, big
Dude,
narrative going into this fight. Alan Patrick,
I
he
think
was in the
Michael
cage
Johnson's
with
shot,
Oliveira.
man. I
Oh,
think Michael
both are for
Johnson's
sure.
shot, man. Like if you ever see Michael Johnson, like the sparring videos of him, like sparring against like Usman and all, bro, he took so much damage in those training sessions, and that's the way he still trains. So he's shot, in my opinion.
Next fight is women's flyweight. We got Viviana Araujo taking on Andrea Lee. Pretty closely lined fight. Andrea Lee minus 120. Araujo plus 100. I mean, really good women's fight. We shit on women's fights a lot, or rightfully so. But this is actually an interesting one. Two women who I've got respect for, who I consider to be pretty good fighters. I consider Lee to be the better one of the two. She's really had some come out performances in her past few fights, was getting real disrespected by the market in the past few fights. And that disrespect might still be lingering here because, um, I think that she's got some advantages over Araujo here. She definitely throws more strikes. She has the possible grappling upside here. I think, both these women can shoot takedowns, but I think Lee has shown more ability to hit them with consistency and do better work on top. But Lee also is known for getting taken down a lot herself. So I feel like either woman who shoots here will probably get that takedown, but I think Lee is more likely to actually shoot that one. So I think the grappling upsides is with Lee, and then the output, the cardio is really good for Andrew Lee. Araujo typically fades later in the fight. She's a good boxer. She's gonna give Lee a tough fight in round one, and Lee kind of does have that weird stance where she like leans into punches a little bit. But she's durable. She's tough. She's definitely not going to get hurt or knocked out here. So it's just a matter of can Araujo, keep up that high boxing output for 15 minutes, and I don't trust her to do so. I think Lee will mix it up well, maybe mix in that takedown. And I don't like Lee as much as I did in her past two fights against Shevchenko and Calvillo, which I'm pretty sure Ozzy and I are both better in those spots. But I still like her here for a small lean. I think she should be slightly favored a little bit more than she is right now. So I like her for a small bet.
Yeah, I shipped Lee big in that last fight against Calvillo. That was a amazing butchering of Calvillo. I felt bad for her in that fight. And I love this fight as well. I mean, like you said, both these girls are good. They're talented. They're pretty well rounded, right? They have a three-dimensional game, which I love to see. Good point about Lee, kind of her striking defense. Like she's a little bit bent at the waist, which I'm curious to see if Araujo uses that uppercut, at all here. But it's a very interesting fight for me. I do like Lee more. I think that the just her pace overall, her overall shot selection is better. And I think that she can just push and maintain like her speed and pressure much more. If you look at the Caitlin Chookagian fight with Araujo, you see how bad she slows down, and it's not even just like her pace. It's just like her punches are just slower. Like she's making decisions at a slower pace as well. Not really adapting too well. Where if you're getting tired, like you have to change it up. Maybe you got to use the clinch. Maybe to regain some of your cardio or your breath. And she wasn't really doing it at all. So I think that Lee is the higher IQ fighter in there as well. I think that if Araujo does get a takedown, I don't see Lee sticking to the bottom, although that has been, an issue for her in the past. But I mean, if you look at Lee's record, man, you can make a case that she's like low, like kind of undefeated in the UFC. Like the Roxanne fight was close. I see why they scored that for Roxanne, but it was close. The Murphy fight, obviously, she won that one, and I think she lost one other one, right? But right, or are those her only two losses? I don't have her record in front of me right now. Either
She
way,
choose to Calderwood. Did you say that one?
oh, well, that one was a close fight too. All I'm saying is Lee fights close, but this girl has been improving. There's no doubt about it. And Araujo, sometimes like she doesn't put her foot, her pedal to the floor. And I think these close fights have left a mark on Andrea Lee. So I think that she'll win this fight. I like her even at this small favorite line still. But I'd be, looking for a live entry on her as well because I think, like we said, she's likely to win that third round. And even if she drops the first round, like dude, super live to even get a finish later on. So I think Lee can win the stand up, win the clinch game. She could just win everywhere. Just as talented. But this should be a banger of a fight for sure.
All right, that'll move us along. Next fight is the first fight on the main card, flyweight division. Jake Hadley making his UFC debut. Alan Nascimento. Hadley coming in as the favorite, minus 220. Nascimento plus 185. So we got England versus Brazil here. What are you thinking in this flyweight fight?
Think this is a really well matched fight here. Hadley has had some hype coming out of that, England. I forget what the name is of Leon Edwards' gym, but this guy is kind of like he fights similar to Leon Edwards. He's really long, southpaw, long for the division. I mean, right? He's a fucking midget. But he's not that active on the feet. He really wants to wrestle a lot. He does have pretty good wrestling. He's pretty strong in there as well. And when he does get on top, it's hard to get him off you. And that's an issue here potentially with Nascimento because Nascimento he'll lay on his back and play guard, but I just feel like the ground and pound for Hadley is not that good. Um, where even if he does take Nascimento down, like I feel like it could be like the kind of fight where the judges like I don't know how much are rewarding him. He lost that first round against Raposo from basically just not doing anything in the first round, and then Raposo totally fucked up after that and giving them the rear naked choke there. But the southpaw dynamic is interesting to me. In the fact that Nascimento has a decent kick game, right? I think he was using his leg kicks pretty well. I've seen him before, and he's very experienced. Like he has what like 20 what is it 24 fights overall, yeah, 24 fights overall, right, to Hadley's 8. And he's been 5 rounds before, I think, on one occasion as well. And he's fucking with Charlie Olives as well. So I think this is gonna be a close fight. I can see why people like dog here. But I'm gravitating towards this over 2.5 just because I don't think Hadley is gonna really finish Nascimento on the ground. I'd be pretty surprised if that happening. I would kind of lean more towards the Nascimento side if there is a finish here. And he's just well rounded, man. He's good. He could fight everywhere. He's got good cardio. And Hadley's a fucking mental midget, man. Like there was like all those things that were coming out about him about when some bullshit about he barely made it to the fight against Raposo, like a bunch of nonsense. Like he almost didn't make weight as well. He's just a weird guy, man. Those Scousers, as they call them in England, they're fucking weird people. And Nascimento is a board fighter, so I think I'm gonna take the dog shot on Nascimento really small, but I like this over potentially. But I'll mix in Nascimento as well because if he gets to finish, I don't want to lose on that. But yeah, I'd be leaning towards Hadley by decision if you liked it, just from top time overall.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything there. Again, yeah, I mean, the triple times the advantage, I mean, it is big. You bring that up often, but I mean, that's really big. And I mean, I'm just not impressed with Hadley at all. Going into his tape, I was already a little underwhelmed with him, considering I remember he missed weight on the Contender Series and just didn't overall impress me. And rewatching the tape, I mean, I think I really solidified that opinion. I mean, this guy's primarily a grappler, but he's not that great of a grappler. I mean, I don't think his wrestling is anything great. He's kind of got that style of like maybe Jack Shore a bit, where he goes to the double leg and then he transitions to the back take, and he doesn't really have much of a game outside of getting to that back take. I think his striking is serviceable. It's getting better, but I still think he's really uncomfortable on the feet. And whenever you pressure him and put up some strikes, you really see him start to, feel uncomfortable. He was losing a lot of his fights before, coming back and winning. The guy is pretty resilient. He does seem to have good cardio, but he was losing that Blaine O'Driscoll fight down 2 rounds, and then came back for the round 3 choke. He lost round 1 to Raposo, like Ozzy was saying. So this guy is, far from a perfect fighter, and I just think the market is doing another contender series overreaction. I mean, a guy gets a finish in the contender series, they're almost always favorites in their next fight. I mean, I guarantee you it's got to be like a 95% rate. At if you get a finish in the contender series, you're going to be favored in your first UFC fight. And Nascimento, we've seen him on the contender series against Julian Paiva back in the day, and that was a really
Great
good
fight.
back and forth fight. Probably one of the better contender series fights of all time. And Nascimento showed a real well-rounded game there versus Ulanbekov. I thought he showed a solid game from bottom. I mean, he almost won that fight. It was a split decision when he spent a lot of time on his back. So I mean, he's active with ground and pound off his back. He's got good jiu-jitsu, and I think I could see him getting taken down here against Hadley. And I just think that he'll fight well off his back. He'll maybe look to sweep or submit off his back, and I just think he'll give Hadley a tough grappling fight everywhere. I mean, Hadley's strength is his grappling, and Nascimento is comfortable being grappled. So I just don't see him covering that big price tag. Gun to my head pick, I agree with Ozzy. It'll probably be Hadley by decision, sadly. But I will also be taking a small dog shot on Nascimento. And I think he'll fight for your money and will look better than plus 185 throughout all the fight, honestly.
One other thing too, these guys are supposed to fight in March, and Hadley, he had a injury. I don't know what the injury was, but that's why it says that he had to pull out. So interesting, little mention there as well. So
And this dude had trouble making weight too, right? He missed,
yeah,
yeah, he missed on the contender series. So
it's
look
easy
to
to hump. It's
I feel
easy
like
to
maybe
hump
that.
those Brits, bro, and Cage Warriors. Like, let's see him do it against the Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and but no way I could pay 220 on him. I'd just take that over. Like, he's not finished. Like, I'd be really surprised if he was able to finish Nascimento
Yeah, and Nascimento was what plus 300, 400 against Ulanbekov, and covered that by a long shot.
easily. Yeah.
I just feel like the market is low on this guy, and they're overrating an unproven guy in Hadley. So next fight, another kind of similar story. Lightweight division here. We got the battle tested Frank Camacho taking on Manuel Torres. Manuel making his UFC debut. The odds for this one: Torres minus 126, Camacho plus 106. And this to me seems like another fight similar to that Journey Newson Fernie Garcia fight. Some other people have made that comparison as well. It is both a Mexican who won by knockout in the Contender Series in round 1 versus an American UFC fighter. Sorry about that. I had a fucking motorcycle drive by. A lot of motorcycle clubs in the neighborhood. But anyway, Manuel Torres, coming off that knockout win. Frank the Crank got knocked out against Justin James a couple years back. I mean, James was a horrible fighter. That was definitely a really bad look for Camacho. Hold on, Camacho's got some different flag here in front instead of the American flag. Wasn't even born in America. So there goes my whole analysis for the fight. Anyway, Camacho is just, we know so much more about Camacho. Torres, there's literally 4 minutes of footage of this guy online. He gets tapped with an ankle lock or a heel hook in a terrible low level fight. He knocks some dude, or he chokes some guy out with a guillotine in 30 seconds. And then he has that stupid Contender Series fight where he pokes his opponent in the eye and then finishes him. That's all with all the footage we have on this guy. And he's a favorite in the UFC. I mean, Camacho is nothing to get excited about considering he's coming off that long layoff. He's coming off a knockout. He kind of goes back and forth between welterweight and lightweight. He's not really that great. But I mean, at plus money, I'm happy to put a bet on the guy considering we just know so little about this Torres guy. I think you have to go out on a bigger limb to say that Torres is good UFC caliber and he's going to. The audio cut out for this portion of the podcast, unfortunately, only missed about 20 seconds. I essentially said that Frank the Crank has plenty left in the tank to win this one, and I'm betting him at plus 124 for 1 unit.
No, I
Don't.
don't know too much about him, right? I saw this one where he body kicked this guy, and the guy like it just felt like it looked like a fixed fight, honestly. Like he goes over, like blows the guy off, no, pause, but like fans him down, after he knocks him out. But I mean, this guy has not fought anybody. All right, first. He was a dog in the contender series against a guy who's super mid, like one of the most mid generic guys in Colton, England, or however you say his name. And Camacho, he got knocked out by James, but a lot of weird stuff going on with that fight. Like he missed weight. That was like COVID season as well. I kind of discount these COVID, like mid COVID, things that are going on, especially guys like Camacho who like have the split camp. Like I don't remember if he was coming from Guam, but that was a weird ass time. And James was like right in Vegas, like going for broke. My man Martian bet on James like every fight after that because of that, knockout. Unfortunately for him,
I gotta
but
fact check that.
I'm pretty sure, bro. But Camacho's. I mean, this guy's if he's not getting caught by this guy, Torres, I just feel in like overall he just has a much more refined game, and proven. What's his name? Camacho before he got into MMA or during his MMA career, he took a little break from it and he was just training jiu-jitsu with Team Lloyd Irvin, and he was super legit. Like he was going to worlds, Pan Am's, blue belt, purple belt, world champion, I think, or he definitely medaled at some of these international competitions. And I'm talking about this is like 2012, 2011, 2013, somewhere around there. And he was legit. His ground game is not bad. He just never uses it. I don't know why, but he's got some like nifty takedowns as well. I just think if these guys get into a firefight, I know what to expect from Frank Camacho. And I got no idea what kind of heart Manuel Torres has. Now the biggest edge and issue is definitely the durability, right? Like, Camacho got clocked in his last fight, maybe struggles to get down to 155, had that like car accident and shit, and definitely has way more miles on him. But I also like that as well because Manuel Torres, like, I mean, you just don't know where you're getting. He trains out of the Mexican gym at Tram at I can't pronounce it, but Brandon Moreno had to leave there for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm not saying the training down there is sketchy. But watching some of the videos, I don't know. I think I might do well if I went down there. Is all I'm saying. And yeah, so do I think Manuel Torres could spark him? Yeah, I do. I do think Frank is more fragile than a lot of people are considering, but I got him at plus 130 here. So, I'm rolling with Frank Camacho. If, Torres is going to prove to me that he's like a very legit prospect, so be it. But at the plus money on Frank, I'm very comfortable, especially knowing that I think this guy's wrestling is very suspect. And if I know what's going on here, I think Frank is going to bring out that wrestling and that ground game in jiu-jitsu. So let's go with Frank the Crank Camacho.
By the way, did bet on James in two of those fights, but still have a winning
Yeah,
record.
yeah,
Winning record
whatever,
on James fights overall. So
whatever,
when you come at the king, you best not miss.
whatever.
Um, next fight. Speaking of the
Frank by
king,
submission. Oh, one last thing. Frank by submission is
10-1.
double the price of Torres by submission, and I haven't seen any Torres ground game. Like, I don't know. Like that really does not make sense to me. So I'll
Yeah,
take a
Frank.
little bite of that.
Yeah, 10-1 for Frank the Crank by sub. It's just his time to come back. He's getting this win.
Timo
Vet lesson
Yama.
time.
They got Colin
Fate.
Oyama in his corner. Alex Perez. Let's go.
Fresh belt for Colin
Let's do
Oyama,
that.
UFC champion coach now.
Let's do that.
A
Ride the
lot of great
wave.
things riding for Frank. So next fight, I was talking about the king earlier. We have the queen of the UFC, Caitlin Chookagian, one of my favorite fighters of all time, taking on Amanda Ribas. Chookagian minus 175, Ribas plus 150.
Yeah, this podcast is going long,
What are
so
you
I gotta.
thinking here? You trusting your New York girl?
Yeah, this
Your
podcast
New
is going
York
long,
girl?
so I'm gonna keep this one short. I loved Caitlin Chookagian. She cashes tickets all the time, but I'm looking at the underdog here because yeah, everyone's like Chookagian. You know what you're gonna get, decision machine, blah 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 blah. But she's fighting these slow bitches at 125, like Jennifer Maya. It's easy to sit down to your punches and crack her. When you're fighting her. I think Ribas doesn't have the speed advantage here. I do think that she can use takedowns here, grapple Caitlyn. People say, "Oh, how is it gonna happen?" She never. the thing with Caitlyn is she like throws these kicks and then she falls down. Like if you just push her back, she falls down. She throws these push kicks, these body kicks that it's kind of easy to catch them. And on the ground, I love Ribas's jiu-jitsu. Yeah, Caitlyn has a good pedigree as well, but I think overall MMA jiu-jitsu wise, Ribas is superior. It's not a dog that I'm in love with that I'm like, yeah, this is definitely best bet or but at plus 155, you know, Ribas doesn't really slow down either. She's got pretty good cardio. Her chin is a little suspect, but I don't think that Chookagian is gonna be landing with as much authority and as easily as she did Jennifer Maia. Like Jennifer Maia is a bot. Like she's like a glove sniffer, right? You guys remember she sniffs the gloves. She's got the same pace. Like she's very rote. Like Ribas can do way more. I feel. And I think that she's gonna look good in this fight no matter what. Like I think it's gonna be a close fight. And I could get Ribas by decision here, 3-1. Pretty good, I think. 25% to beat Caitlyn by a decision, I think is a good price. So I'll roll with Ribas here at this line. If you got minus 140, I think that's cool, but I prefer the Ribas side at plus 150 and above.
So I did bet Chook. I got 2 units minus 136, but I gotta say, Ozzy, it does worry me a little that you're picking against her because I feel Ozzy has had a pretty good historical read on Chookagian over a lifetime. I mean, add up that spreadsheet, I guarantee you he's made some good money on her in the lifetime. So it does concern me, but looking at her career, I mean, I'm dead serious when I say I really like Chookagian because she's just such a professional. She's so consistent. She shows up with the same that she looks the same in every fight. She's got 3 rounds of cardio. She rarely deviates from the game plan. I mean, I wish more fighters would be like Caitlin Chookagian, and I'm excited to watch her fight this weekend. She was kicking Jennifer Maia's ass. She beat Jennifer Maia worse than Firo did. And at one point, Firo versus Chookagian is going to be a hell of a fight. And maybe Valentina can, evacuate this division and give us some entertaining fights with Chookagian as the champion. But Ribas moving up to 125 here, that's a big variable. And then the second variable I think isn't being talked about here enough is Ribas, is she going to be smart enough to grapple heavy in this fight? That's where the majority of her win equity is. I mean, almost all of it. See, there goes the more motorcycles, Hells Angels, Pagans, they're all over the place. And then so Ribas, are you sure that she's gonna grapple in this fight? Because it
I'm pretty sure,
yeah,
Max.
I mean, I think so too. I
Pretty
mean, she would
sure.
be moronic not to, but I mean, I think it's not a 0% chance that she just tries to be a kickboxer in this fight and, runs into the same Chook game where she just slows the fight down, gets it into a decision. But, let's say that she does do her best here and attempt those takedowns. I just feel like I don't love Ribas's wrestling game. She is good on top once she gets there, but I just feel that Chookagian is smart. She prepares smart for these fights. She's going to know that she's probably fighting a grappler here with the best chance to win via takedowns, and she's probably been working on her wrestling. And last thing I'll say is Chookagian, her fights typically go to the decision, right? We're always dealing with weird judges. She's won 8 unanimous decisions in a row. So, oh no, wait, actually, no, seven unanimous decisions in a row. When her fights hit the decision, she does a really good job at sealing those rounds. The judges like her for some reason, and I think she knows how to put it together well for 5 minutes. So, I think that's big in this fight. And I think it's going to be, another Chookagian decision. But where the line's at now, not interested in adding any more to Chookagian. It's definitely dog or pass here, but competitive fight.
Ribas,
Any closing thoughts, Ozzy?
yeah, Ribas has literally grappled in every single one of her fights, all of them, except the Mackenzie Dern one. Like she's a smart fighter. Like people, I don't know, people just think like because she's got that like really annoying voice and stuff and Brazilian. I think people think that she's a dumb fighter. She's not. And like Chookagian, where does she make her hay in the third round? Right, that you're always feeling good that Caitlyn will win the third round. This is a fight where Ribas has great cardio, and I'm actually feeling more confident. Like thinking about this fight more because I mean, did you watch Caitlyn versus Jillian Robertson that submission? I mean, this girl like Chookagian just stays on her back. Like if Ribas takes her down, Caitlyn's not getting up. So knowing that, I like that in women's MMA, and knowing that the cardio advantage might not be there, I'm gonna bet on Ribas. I'm taking Ribas
She has grappled in most of her fights, but I mean, I would
every
say
fight.
that But it wasn't the A game plan in Dern or Verna. Both of those fights, majority of her success came in the striking. So, she has, it's not like she's landing 4, 5, 6 takedowns a fight. The most takedowns she's ever landed was 2 in a fight. So I don't know. I
She
just
only
feel like
needs to.
I feel like her wrestling is a little overrated. And
Yeah, it
she's
should be a close
her
fight. It should be a close
Chookagian's
fight.
husband is a wrestling coach too. That
He
can't
is.
forget
He
that.
is. But I'd be
Um,
surprised if Caitlyn won dominantly. Like, she doesn't win dominantly. So, and she's been
that's
taken
true.
down in
No,
her last. I mean, didn't Maya take? I don't remember if Maya took her down, but like Vivi took her down, Cynthia took her down, Jessica Andrade took her down, even in that 1 round fight.
but I don't think those women kept her down, did they? I don't
Valentina,
think so.
Jennifer Maya, even Joanne Wood took her down 3 times with like caught kicks and shit.
But she
Alexis
won all those fights. That kind of
Davis,
goes against your point, though. She
Mara
won every.
Barella took
She
her
won
down.
again. You named 7 or
Yeah,
8
she
fights where
won. No,
she's
she
won.
won. Yeah, no, she won all those fights. I give her
So
credit. I like
that goes
Chookagian.
against. I know. I'm not saying you're talking shit on her, but that kind of goes against your point here with Ribas, where you said she gets taken down, she gets stuck on her back. Well, she's
She
been
does
taken
get stuck
down
on her
in
back.
8 fights and won all 8. I
Yeah,
agree.
because the girls are bad in the
It's
third
a good.
round.
I mean, it's a really really close fight. I mean,
It should be a close fight.
I think I think it's appropriately lined. I mean, Ribas is moving up in weight. She's fighting one of the top 3 or 5 women at the weight class. I mean, I think she's the rightful dog.
Yeah, I agree.
Next
We can
fight,
move on.
we got bantamweight Smolka versus Grant. Grant minus 300, Smolka plus 250. Your turn to start this one off. Bantamweight division.
Davy Grant should not be as big of a favorite. I think Smoker got knocked out by Vince in that last fight. Was surprising. I was on the over in that fight. Um, but I was surprised how it ended, so quickly. Not sure that's gonna happen here. I think Smoker could push the pace. I feel like Davy's been taking damage. He's been looking good against good fighters, but he's been losing to good fighters. I think it should be a close fight. So I'll take Smoker.
Interesting, nice and concise. I mean, I was interested in Smoker early on in the weekend. I'd still say, I guess the value is on him. No way you could be land a Grant minus 300, but I don't know, man. Smoker has given me wimpy vibes. The one big difference I see between the guys is their durability. Both get hurt, but Grant is comfortable getting hurt, battling back. He's in dogfights. He gets dropped. He comes back and drops you. Smoker, when he gets hurt, he kind of just closes the show, and he doesn't battle back from adversity well. And I mean, the most recent time we saw him battle back was when he was losing the striking to Jose Alberto Quinones in round 1 before coming back and winning that fight. But man, I mean, losing the striking to that guy is bad. And Grant, he's janky, he's unorthodox, but man, he's effective. He's fun to watch. His striking is really effective, and I think he's going to hurt Smolka here early on. So maybe look to live bet Smolka. Haven't mentioned live betting throughout the podcast, but I mean, live betting is the gold mine. You guys got to be watching those lines, and I think Smoke will be a better live bet here. But good chance Grant just knocks him out in the first round. So
I can't believe I fucked up not watching the
co-main
live
event
lines
time.
for that Newsom fight last week. That shit was like plus 210 after round 1. But yeah, let's go to co-main.
I think even higher,
Oof.
255.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you guys
fuck
are
that up.
quick plug for the spaces. I'll be on live again on spaces this week. So if you go to my Twitter anytime during the fights, I'll be kind of giving like a live commentary broadcast type of thing for the fights. And we're talking about live bets and whatnot there. Um, Next fight, co-main event. Ozzy's looking forward to this one. I'll let you start this one off. Ion Cutelaba, Ryan Spann-Cutelaba minus 220, Spann plus 186.
Yeah, co-main event spot. I think they're trying to push Kudalaba here a little bit. I mean, I think this is the last fight on Ryan Spann's contract. I mean, this guy, his chin is just so shitty. That you saw what happened in his last fight against Smith and like a smaller guy with some speed, and he's just getting caught with every lead, strike that Smith is throwing, whether it be a jab or a left hook. And if he gets hit clean at all, he's chicken dancing all over the place. He's got some power. He is dangerous, and Kudalaba's a madman, so he could definitely get cracked, right? I could definitely see the right hand uppercut, something like that, landing on Kudalaba. But he's got a hell of a chin. The only guy to really put him out was Magomed, Ankalaev. And those are some hammers. That would have knocked out anyone. But that's his issue a little bit. He does walk onto punches because he's such a meathead. But overall, like, he should murder Spann. Like, if this fight goes any deeper, than like the first like 2-3 minutes. Like Spann was breathing hard after knocking out Misha Serkinov. And Serkinov's a bum, obviously, or just not durable at all. And Cutelaba is like the exact opposite. So I mean, I think the juice is justified here. I think if Cutelaba puts Spann on his back, like Spann's gonna fold the tent, fold the chairs up. But he does have a dangerous guillotine. I will give him that. But I mean, he's got to put Cutelaba to sleep. But I could see some weird shit happen in this fight. Like it is very live. Like if they gave me like 101 for a DQ, I would bet that shit for this fight because like Cutelaba's like liable to like throw a knee to the down opponent or something weird. I think is afoot here potentially. But I'm laying the juice. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Cutelaba, he's legit. I mean, he has nothing on Yuri, but this guy is, when he wants to get the takedown, he's very decisive with that, and he doesn't stop. He's shown better cardio as well. He's been getting better. And then at range, I mean, the only issue is that I do think that Spann chin is really bad, but Cutelaba is not the most accurate puncher either. So he might have to buy his time a little bit, but hopefully he takes Ryan Spann down and just drops elbows on his face and knocks him out. So give me Cutelaba, and I am laying or drinking the juice, whatever however you want to say it better.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add. Point deduction here is 20 to 1. I kind of agree with what you're saying. And also Cutelaba, bro, I honestly think he gives Jiri a good fight. Like, I mean, he would have to probably finish Jiri in the first 2 rounds, which is hard to see. But I mean, Cutelaba's a beast in these first 2 rounds. I mean, when this dude gets on top, I mean, like you said, clear improvements have been happening in the past 2 fights. I mean, beat the brakes off of Justin Jacoby and Devin Clark in the first half of those fights. I mean, he also dropped Clark with a huge overhand right, just landed right to the back of the ear. It sounded like a sledgehammer in the apex when he landed that punch. And I just think the guy's getting better everywhere. His cardio has been, a big concern throughout his career, but we're starting to see him show a little bit better cardio. He just needs to not go for that dump, that round one finish. I mean, if he bides his time a little bit and looks to slowly dismantle Spann instead of just going ape shit in round one, I really think he has all the tools and the well-rounded skill to drag Spann for as long as this fight goes. I really think Cutelaba's only way to lose are getting caught with a huge punch early on, which I don't even think is a great chance of happening because Spann is really bad. And then the other is that gas out. Cutelaba, just going for the kill early, gassing out, kind of like he did versus Jacoby. But I don't know, man. Spann is so bad that I put no faith and no money in this guy. It's favorite or pass. It's Cutelaba or pass, and maybe look to play like a time prop on this fight, like the under or something like that. Um, but if it goes to decision, Cutelaba decision, plus what is it? 400, 500, I think. I mean, oh no, it's plus 750 for Cutelaba by
That's
decision.
fat.
I don't understand that. I mean, if it's going to decision, only one guy can win, and that's Cutelaba.
That's
So,
a fat line.
um, next fight, main event time. Rakic versus Blachowicz. We got Rakic as the favorite. I'm pulling up the line here. Rakic minus 190, Blachowicz plus 160. I mean, I'll keep this one short and sweet. I mean, I haven't done a whole lot of tape. I've done no tape for the fight. I mean, it's just I think Rakic is going to do what he does, and that's push against the cage, clinch, knee the thighs, make the fight boring. I mean, Rakic is really good at that style. He's energy efficient. He's risk adverse. I mean, that is kind of what you want in a fighter, but he's also extremely boring when doing so. So, Blachowicz obviously coming off of the bad loss against Glover, looked like he never saw a takedown in his life before in that fight. I mean, I was fooled. I honestly thought Blachowicz, we saw him get out grappled by Gustafsson back in the day, and then I thought that he got better as a defensive grappler. Turns out he did not at all. Turns out Glover Teixeira is the fucking man. And I'm honestly stupid for even doubting Glover for a second in that fight. So Rakic hasn't fought in forever, but I still think, there's no reason to doubt him here. It's hard to see Blachowicz having a whole lot of success here. I just think Rakic is gonna make the fight boring. Land takedowns, push against the cage, do a lot of what Jacare Souza was having success against Jan with, and yeah, not a whole lot of original analysis here. I'll pass it over to you, Ozzy. Any strong thoughts here?
Yeah, I hate Rakic, or Rakic is how you actually say it. I mean, this the thing with the dude is like he just doesn't do that much, you know. Like if you look at that Santos fight, like this guy's suspect, man. Like he just goes into missionary position on Smith the whole fight after landing some calf kicks. Like Smith didn't want to fight him anymore. And then he has that shitty fight against Santos. I mean, Santos, I mean, that fight was way closer than I guess, you know, Rakic must have been thinking about because, you know, I think if you would have gave Santos a third round, he would have won. I don't remember how they scored it, but that fight fucking sucked. And this guy's living off that Jimmy Manuwa head kick. And if you think about these guys at range, I mean, when Jan is on the front foot and he's got like, and he's in his flow, like was when he beat up Dominic Reyes, he's pretty solid. You know, he's good at defending leg kicks as well. So I don't think that that'll be a, you know, big weapon for Rakic either. And he's got way more power. And this guy's long ass neck, his chin is there to get hit. His chin is up in the air. His defense is not that great. And you saw once you know, he someone gave him a hard time in Volcon. This guy was kind of looking for a way out, and this is a long fight, 5 rounds. You know, Jan could go 5 rounds, and I don't know about Rakic at all. So you know, I kind of like the over here a little bit, 2.5, 3.5, both of them. I'd be surprised that, you know, if Rakic finishes Jan. You know, I think people see that Glover you know, ground game debacle from Jan and, you know, expect that to happen. But, you know, Glover's an ADCC level grappler, like legit, like top of the food chain. And who's Rakic ever really looked good against on the ground? Like no one really. Like this guy got dropped
Krylov,
by
that's it.
which guy?
Nikita Krylov, that's it.
Nikita Krylov. I don't even remember that fight, honestly. But he got dropped by Devin Clark. Like Rakic is suspect, man. He hasn't fought in a year either. Biggest issue is that Jan, what's it called? That Jan injury. But Rakic is suspect, man. There's no way I would lay juice on him. You know, I see some people thinking this guy could be champion. No fucking chance. Like Yuri would annihilate this fucking guy. Like I don't even think it would be that competitive. You know, I think,
I
you know,
don't think so
obviously
either.
I think Rakic has like it's just a KO threat. Like that's his bit. Like he has a knockout chance. But other than that, like this dude is not that good, in my opinion. Like yeah, he's, you know, he has like a lot of you know, he has a good background. Definitely, he has some skills. But once these fights get like grimy, like he doesn't look like a champion level material to me. And this is a big step up. Jan's fought a lot of top guys, and he's won fights in multiple different ways. He's won boring ass fights. He's won kickboxing fights. He's won, you
Sub,
know,
knockout, everything.
submission. He's like comeback fights, and he's you know, been wrestled. Like this dude just got so much experience that, you know, you give me a former champ like this 5 round fight against an unproven guy plus 180 plus 170 in a fight that I'm favoring to go later as well. Yeah, I like the Jan side. You know, could be square at the end, square dog, but Rikic, he's not it for me. So like I said before, let him prove it to me. So let's see what happens.
Some good points there. I mean, I haven't thought about that fight a whole lot, but I mean, I agree with a lot what you said, and I kind of got me thinking. Blachowicz has actually performed really well as an underdog historically too. It's really as a favorite is when he gets sketchy, like the Glover fight, the Jacare fight. But I mean, I think in like 6 of his past 8 fights, he's been the dog, and he typically wins in
Bro, and
almost
he
all
has a
those fights.
great
So
chin as well. The only time he's really been hurt is that Santos fight where he was just like running in and he just like ran into that punch. It was pretty dumb. But
yeah,
other than that, man,
that was
he's tough. He's hard to put away. And he's fine with letting the fight come to him as well, right? Like he'll fight at his pace. He's not gonna get rushed. He's not gonna like bright lights aren't gonna, you know, bother him. And he knows he can win this fight later on as well. So give me the former champ.
the lock of this fight is the bet is for it to be boring. I don't know what sports books are offering the fight to be boring, but I mean, this is going to be a rough one. So best bet of the week time last week, tragic, both a double loss, Gatto and
Mm,
Gaethje,
mm.
um, double G, double loss there. So what are we going with this week, Ozzy?
So I was in between either going with Cutelaba or Andrea Lee, right? That's, you know, big difference there, right? Obviously, one is a pick 'em, basically. Andrea Lee just moved a little bit, and Cutelaba is like much heavier favorite. I'm gonna go with Cutelaba just because I think that, you know, he should be an even bigger favorite here, even though I think that there could some fuckery going on here. I just feel Cutelaba is at the point in his career where he should dominate a guy like Ryan Spann. And Spann, he's just looking terrible this week, and he's been looking bad in these fights. Even the ones that he wins, he doesn't look particularly good in them. So I'll take Cutelaba here. Biggest, like, most juice line I've ever done for that, but I think he's gonna get it done.
Yeah, I think the other one you did in that range was Alex Pereira, which came through in
That was
easy
minus
fashion.
175, I think. So
Yeah, I'm also torn on this one. A lot of the prices I bet are already gone, especially Jandiroba and Chookagian. Those lines have moved like 40 cents. So I don't love either of them at that price. So I'm gonna go with something that I still like at this price, a risky bet, and that'll be Frank the Crank at plus 106 on Bet Online. So you can get Cutelaba minus 221, Camacho plus 106 at plus 199 odds. Ozzy is shipping them both. He's on
lock it
Frank as
up.
well. I think Cutelaba will likely cover. So I think that this is a good one. We'll bounce back with a 2-1 winner this week. And that'll do it for the podcast. 11 fights. We went through this one at a decent speed. Any closing thoughts here, Ozzy?
Nope, that went longer than I wanted it to, but that's just what happens. Go Suns, go Phoenix.
Yeah, whatever that means. Yeah, I had some fun talking about some of the earlier fights on the card. Honestly, a lot of babes on this card. Angela Hill, Andrea Lee, Chookagian. Love those women. Yeah, some good bets as well. Got 5 money line bets for me already. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning into the podcast. Catch me on Spaces live on Twitter during the fights if you guys want to come by and say what's up. And that'll do it.
Subscribe
We'll
to
see you.
my son's YouTube page. Subscribe, like, and subscribe.
Right. Again, whatever that means. I think he's talking about some ball sport, whatever those are. We like fight sports on this.
No, I'm talking about your YouTube page. Like and subscribe.
Yeah. That too. I understand. Yeah. All right. That'll do it. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, everyone.